What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and oh my goodness, if you thought this offseason was going to be quiet, if you thought the New York Rangers were just going to tiptoe into the summer and make a few minor tweaks around the edges, I need you to sit down right now because the bomb has officially exploded on Broadway, and it is loud. I'm talking seismic. I'm talking the kind of offseason that Rangers fans are going to be talking about for years, whether that's in a good way or a very, very painful way. And honestly, right now it feels like a little bit of both. So buckle up, stay until the end of this video because there is so much to unpack here. And if you're new to this channel, hit that subscribe button right now because we cover the Rangers every single day, and today is one of the biggest news days we've had in a long, long time. Let's start with the headline. The one that broke the internet. The one that Rangers fans felt deep in their chest the moment it hit their timeline. Vincent Trocheck, one of the most beloved, most productive, most important players in the Rangers' recent history, has been traded. Gone. Packed up and shipped out to the Utah Mammoth on the first day of NHL free agency. And just like that, an era in Madison Square Garden is officially over. Now, I know some of you saw this coming. This had been building for months. Rangers general manager Chris Drury sent that letter to the fans back in January, warning everybody that a full-scale retool was underway, that it was going to hurt, and that the organization would be saying goodbye to players who had given a lot to this franchise. And yet somehow, when it actually happened, when the news dropped that Trocheck was gone, it still hit like a freight train. Because this wasn't just any player. This was Vincent Trocheck, the engine of this team, the guy who showed up every single night, competed with everything he had, and was a cornerstone of 2 Eastern Conference final runs. This hurts, Rangers fans. Let's not sugarcoat it. But here's the thing, and this is where we need to pump the brakes on the emotion for just a second and look at what the Rangers actually got back, because the return on this deal is genuinely fascinating. In exchange for Trocheck, New York received defenseman Sean Durzi, 20-year-old center prospect Cole Bedoin, and a third-round pick in the 2027 NHL draft. Now, at first glance, some of you are going to say that doesn't sound like enough for a guy who just put up 53 points in 67 games last season. A guy who was a perfect penalty killer on Team USA's gold medal squad at the Milan Cortina Olympics. A guy who has never posted fewer than 20 goals in 4 straight seasons. And I understand that reaction completely. But let me tell you about Cole Bedoin, because this kid is the real prize of this package, and he might be the reason Rangers fans look back at this trade differently in 3 or 4 years. Bedoin was the 24th overall pick in the 2024 NHL draft. He's only 20 years old. He stands 6'2", weighs 212 pounds, and this past season with the Barrie Colts in the OHL, he absolutely exploded. 88 points, 33 goals, 55 assists, a plus-minus of +40. And if that wasn't enough, in the playoffs he was the best player in the entire league, leading all scorers with 19 assists and 29 total points in just 15 postseason games. This kid is a generational OHL talent, and he is immediately the top center prospect in the entire Rangers organization. He's the future down the middle. He represents exactly what Chris Drury said he wanted, a young building block who can help the team now and even more in the long run. So yeah, losing Trocheck stings, but landing Bedoin and Durzi in return? There's something real to work with here. And speaking of Durzi, let's not sleep on him either, because Sean Durzi is exactly the kind of modern defenseman that new Rangers head coach Mike Sullivan has been asking for. He's a puck mover, a playmaker from the blue line, a guy who in 5 NHL seasons has racked up 114 career assists, hitting at least 22 assists in 4 of those 5 seasons. He's under contract at a $6 million cap hit, which yes, technically adds salary rather than slimming the books, something a lot of people expected in a Trocheck deal. But the Rangers front office clearly made a decision here that they weren't just going to dump a veteran asset for cap relief. They were going to squeeze real hockey value out of this transaction. And Durzi gives them that. He slots into what is quickly becoming a completely overhauled Rangers defense core, and that overhaul has been one of the fastest and most dramatic blue line transformations we've seen any team execute in a single offseason. Because remember, this Trocheck trade was only one of 4 trades the Rangers made on the very first day of free agency. For trades, in one day, Chris Drury came to work on July 1st like he had something to prove, and he was moving pieces left, right, and center. In addition to dealing Trocheck to Utah, New York also brought in veteran defenseman Marcus Pettersson from the Vancouver Canucks, traded Will Borgen to the Boston Bruins, and acquired goaltender Jonas Korpisalo also from Boston for a 4th-round pick in 2028, and forward prospect Kalle Väisänen. The Korpisalo move is interesting in its own right. The Finnish netminder is 32 years old, he's got 334 games of NHL experience, and he just won a bronze medal at the Milan Cortina Olympics and a gold at the 2026 IHF World Championship. He's going to push Dylan Garand for the backup job behind Igor Shesterkin, and honestly that competition alone is going to be a compelling storyline going into training camp. But let's zoom out for a second, because this isn't just about the trades that happened on free agency day. This Rangers offseason started much earlier than July 1st, and the moves that were made in the days leading up to free agency were just as significant. Let's go back to the 2026 NHL draft in Buffalo, where the Rangers held the 5th overall pick, one of the highest selections this franchise has had in years, and they used it to select Latvian defenseman Albert Smits. Now, if you haven't heard of Smits yet, let me introduce you to your new favorite Rangers prospect, because this kid is something special. At 18 years old, he played in 2 professional leagues this past season, one in Finland, one in Germany. He represented Latvia at the Milan Cortina Olympics and had 2 assists in 4 games. He is only the 2nd player in NHL history to compete at the World Juniors, the Olympics, and the World Championship in a single season. Joining Evgeny Malkin as the only other player to ever accomplish that feat, he also won the E.J. Maguire Award of Excellence, which the NHL gives to the prospect who best exemplifies character, competitiveness, and athleticism. Rangers fans, this is your future franchise defenseman. Circle the name. Remember where you were when you first heard it. And the draft didn't stop at Albert Smits. The Rangers also added 9 prospects total across their draft weekend, including defenseman Ben McBeath, who finished 12th among rookie skaters in the WHL this past year with 51 points and ranked 22nd among all North American skaters in NHL Central Scouting's final rankings. McBeath is headed to the University of Denver to develop his game, which is one of the premier NCAA hockey programs in the country. The future is being built layer by layer. Now before the draft, just days earlier, the Rangers had already pulled off what might be the most exciting addition of the entire offseason, acquiring winger Pavel Dorofeyev from the Vegas Golden Knights. And this one got people fired up in the best possible way. Dorofeyev is 24 years old, he's coming off his best NHL season, and he's widely considered one of the most dynamic young wingers in the entire Western Conference. The price the Rangers paid was steep, the 26th overall pick in the 2026 draft, a 3rd-round pick in 2026, and a conditional 1st-round pick in 2028. But when you're in a retool and you're trying to establish the identity of your next great team, landing a 24-year-old power forward with elite skill and upside is exactly how you do it. Dorofeyev can play with anyone. He can score goals, he can create space, and he's got a long runway ahead of him. He and a developing Alexis Lafreniere, whose trade value, interestingly, has been rising according to multiple reports, could form one of the most exciting young forward pairings in the entire Metropolitan Division within the next 2 years. On the free agency signing front, the Rangers also locked up center Joe Veleno on a 1-year, $1.2 million contract, and added veteran winger Oliver Bjorkstrand on a 1-year deal worth $4.5 million. These are depth signings, smart, low-risk additions that give Mike Sullivan options without handcuffing the cap. They also extended young goaltender Dylan Garand for 2 more years, signaling that while Korpisalo is being brought in, Garand is still very much in the long-term picture for this organization. At just 24 years old, Garand has shown flashes of real NHL-caliber ability, and giving him a multi-year deal shows the organization believes in his development arc. And then, if all of that wasn't enough, earlier this week the Rangers also announced that Quinton Dolan has been named president, chief operating officer, and alternate governor of the organization. A major front office leadership change, arriving at the exact same time as this complete roster reconstruction. The entire structure of this franchise is being remade from the foundation up. This is not a minor adjustment. This is a full teardown and rebuild of everything, the front office, the roster, the philosophy, the future. So where does this leave Rangers fans emotionally? Honestly, it's complicated. Trocheck is gone. Panarin is already gone, traded to the Los Angeles Kings earlier this year. The core that made 2 Eastern Conference final runs, the one that gave the city hope and electricity and some of the most memorable nights Madison Square Garden has seen in decades, that core is being dismantled piece by piece. And that is painful. Nobody is going to pretend otherwise. These were players that Rangers fans genuinely loved. Players who gave everything on the ice in that building every single game. But if you squint through the pain and look at what's emerging on the other side of this rebuild, Albert Smits at the top of the draft, Pavel Dorofeyev running a wing, Cole Bedoin developing into a franchise center, Sean Durzi quarterbacking a power play, Igor Shesterkin still locked in as one of the best goalies alive, Adam Fox still anchoring the blue line as arguably the most skilled defensive defenseman in the entire sport. The blueprint is there. It's messy right now. It's going to be uncomfortable for a season, maybe two. But Chris Drury is clearly swinging for something bigger than a first-round exit. He's swinging for a Stanley Cup caliber rebuild, and he is not afraid to make the hard calls to get there. The bomb has dropped on Broadway. The Rangers as we knew them are gone. And what's rising from the wreckage is either going to be the franchise's greatest era or the biggest swing and miss in recent memory. Either way, we are going to be here, covering every single second of it. If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Smash that button right now. Drop your reaction in the comments below. Are you buying what Drury is building? Or are you devastated by what's been lost? Let me know. I read every single one. And I'll see you in the next video. Let's go Rangers.